Dive right in, let's go. Move forward and dip in your toes. Let the rhythm take control. It's going down tonight, yeah. Dive right in, let's go. Move forward and dip in your toes. Let the rhythm take control. It's going down tonight, yeah.
The second stop of the GT Winter Series, Estoril, Portugal. The unpredictable Atlantic weather didn't only cause a stormy coast, but also led to an exciting race day at the well-known former Formula One track. A starting field of 44 cars crowded the Circuito do Estoril, promising race action throughout the whole day. Besides well-known teams like Schnitzel Elm or Olymp Racing, there were plenty of new cars and teams in the entry lists. For example, the Nova NP02 of ANS Motorsport, or a whole pack of Ferrari 488 Challenge Evos competing in the Cup 1 class.
It's really nice, it's challenging, it's fast, and yeah, it's good. I love it.
Qualifying started on the drying 4.3 kilometers of tarmac, and times got faster and faster with every lap. The time that no one could beat was set by Christian Korzenowski in the Olymp Audi R8 GT3. Pole position for the first race of the weekend. The GT4 pole belongs to Simon Prim in the CV Performance Mercedes AMG GT4, proving great skills in these tricky conditions. Dustin Blattner shined in his Porsche 992 Cup and even made it in front of some GT3s.
Qualifying was really good. We're P1 in both in our class in both qualifying sessions. I think we start P10 overall on the grid, which considering the class we're in is very, very good. So we're looking forward to the race.
Kein einfaches Quali, aber ich habe es einmal gut umgesetzt jetzt mit dem ersten Platz in der GT4-Klasse. Und jetzt im Rennen hoffen wir natürlich noch weiter nach vorne zu kommen und auch dort wieder zu gewinnen.
The first sprint race of the weekend starts on a still damp track, causing an unexpected first crash in lap 1. The CV Performance AMG and the Cayman of Jens Richter spun into the Cup Porsche of Leandro Martin. The safety car was only deployed for 2 laps until the field tightened up again and the drivers got back into race mode. Christian Korzenowski in his R8 reopened the race and gained the lead. Meanwhile, there is strong competition between Kenneth Heyer and Michael Yos, which is interrupted by another safety car phase caused by a Ligier JS2R rolling out. Under high pressure and with just 4 laps to go, the race reopened with plenty of action throughout the field, with the number 5 R8 GT3 from Olymp in the lead, followed by Yos in the number 91 car and Kenneth Heyer, car number 101, in the 3rd position. The race came to an end by a red flag caused by a crash in turn 1. Thomas Fleming, who is completely new to the Ferrari 488 Challenge Evo, was immediately comfortable with his car and directly won the Cup 1 class.
The team's really happy with how I'm performing, considering it's the first time, especially around this track as well. It's completely foreign to us. So yeah, no, it's going really well. I love the car as well. It's an absolute dream to drive.
Wird ein spannendes Rennen. Ich hoffe, das Wetter bleibt jetzt auch konstant, dass wir halt entweder nass oder trocken haben.
The second sprint race starts and Marcel Marchevitz defends his pole position against Dustin Blattner and Jonathan Brossard in the Nova NP02. Meanwhile, the battle between the Huber and Manthey Racing Porsches went on and showed precise fighting with the Porsche Cup car. At the end, the winner was Schnitzel Elm Racing with Marcel Marchevitz.
Ja, hat super funktioniert. Ich habe geschafft, direkt von vorne wegzufahren, ein paar schnelle Runden auf dem Asphalt zu brennen. Von daher einfach mega viel Spaß gehabt.
I think it's a great day. I mean, this morning it was wet, but it's turning out to be an awesome day. The track conditions have been dry for like the past 2 races, so couldn't be happier.
The starting grid for the 60-minute endurance race is determined by the addition of the 2 sprint results. Therefore, it was not the Schnitzelalm AMG that was at the front, but Blattner in the Manthey Porsche. The race begins and Markovic squeezes in front of Blattner. Jonathan Broussard unfortunately crashed with Pietro Guerra in his Mercedes AMG GT3 and both lost their positions in the front. As the sun sets, Olymp Racing is competing strong, but has the same fate, spun and lost precious time. The winner of the day was Schnitzelalm Racing, with Marcel Markovic and Kenneth Heyer proving themselves as great pilots in all conditions. Dustin Blattner had also more than enough reasons to celebrate, competing with the GT3s in every race. Last but not least, Tom Fleming ended up on the podium as well. What a start into his GT racing career. Plenty of action, mixed conditions and precise racing led to a great day of racing in Estoril, Portugal.
We got 2 podiums overall in a car which is not as fast as the GT3s and some of the Cup car drivers. So no, I'll take that.
Next stop is the fully booked GT Winter Series in Jerez.
Okay, well, there we go. That was Estoril. Of course, we saw there an impressive performance in the GT Win Series race at Estoril from Tom Fleming for FF Corsa. FF Corsa are back here this weekend in GT Winter Series. It's their second of what I believe will be a total of 2 appearances in the GT Winter Series. They are largely focusing their testing and winter racing program on circuits that feature in the Ferrari Challenge Europe schedule. So the GT cars will be expected out on circuit in just a few moments' time. I believe now might be a good opportunity to talk you through the various classes in GT Win Series, which we tried our best to do during the previous race. There are several classes and frankly a litany of different cars available to run in the class, or welcome to run in the class. That includes, but is not limited to, of course, LMP3 cars. We don't have any LMP3s racing with us on this occasion, but LMP3 cars are welcome in the category GT3, which of course has its own class for homologated, BOP'd GT3 cars. The Cup 1 class, which runs for Ferrari Challenge Evo machinery, GT4s for vehicles with GT4 homologation, a very, very popular class, almost enough to have their own grid. The GT4 category, very popular indeed. Cup 2 is the Porsche 992 Cup cars, and the 991 generation cars are welcome in that class as well. We do have a couple of 991s among the 992 brigade this week. Porsche Caymans are in the Cup 3 category. Cup 4, you can enter Ligier JS2Rs, Porsche 996 GT3 Cup cars, but of course you could also rock up with something else as approved by the organisers if it fits into that kind of performance window, as it were. The BMW Cup, which we don't see any entries in this weekend, for M2 CS and M240. And Cup X is kind of your catch-all, kind of an invitational class, if you will. So in there we have a few GT3 cars running either without the appropriate data loggers or with the BOP restrictors removed. We also have the Lamborghini Super Trofeo cars in Cup X. We have quite a few different cars in the Cup X category that kind of don't fit any of those other class parameters. So while there are class battles to watch as well, it does lead to a very compelling overall fight among numerous different classes of race car. Certainly the GT Winter Series grid, one of the strongest in general, and much less when we have so much variety on the circuit. Two of the Manthey entered Porsche 992 Cup cars. Wild, but for now, let's catch up with some of our sponsors. Let's run a couple of their ads.
First car gonna be here.
Custom, handcrafted,
Wanted your car to start from the pits.
mountain bikes.
What was the reason?
It all starts with an idea. Driven by the adventures that formed us, shaped by the mountains around us. We build the best bikes for us and our friends. Propane bicycles. Custom.
Okay, so we are the racing, as it were, with the cars already approaching the grid. And
Come to the
this
camera
one,
with me.
170 car, the Pro Sport Racing Aston Martin, is going to be lined up properly on the front row of the grid, where it should be. And I'm sure that's good news for the 170 crew, Lucas.
It is good news, Adam, because I just went on to double checking it. This was the car that started the first race from the pits. There is Maxime Demarais, who did race number one earlier. Now, Maxime, please tell us, what was the reason why you had to start from the pits earlier on today?
Well, there was a small issue with the timing that we were wrong, so we need to leave from the pits. But it was quite nice. We had a good race. We passed 30 cars in 20 minutes, so a lot of action, and it's just an amazing car.
Change of roles now, because obviously it's now on pole position and it's here. That's the most important bit. So what do you expect for the race then?
Well, hopefully we're gonna win. Yeah, I mean, I think he's able to. There was some strong competition even in GT3, and the Lamborghinis are so quick on the straight, so it will be a battle, I think, but I think we're gonna have a nice race.
That's an interesting thing, isn't it? Because your car, as many others, is running in GT3 spec, and then we have a class called Cup X, which is eventually GT3, but without any restrictors, isn't it?
Yeah, so they have a lot more horsepower, so on the straight they can easily pass us, but we are trying everything we can to keep them behind us with the brakes we have and the aerodynamics and some good driving skills.
Of course. Thank you very much, Maxime, and of course all the best to Jean. I would say, Adam, please give us the grid, as we'll show you around with all the cars that are here on the front row of the grid.
So there you go, the Aston Martin 170 car that will start on race with Jean Glorieux at the wheel. It'll be Kenneth Hyatt next to him in the Schnitzelam Racing 101 car. Glad to see that car on the grid. Of course, we saw Axel Sartingen collide with one of the Ferrari Challenge cars in the earlier running. Does look as though we're missing cars from row 2. In fact, no, we're not. It just seems as though row 2 has been left vacant. But we do have all the cars we expect on row 2 as well. Bernard Loeffler on the second row of the grid. This is the 78 Racing Team's 26 entry. And that car is running sans BOP restrictors, so it's a slightly more powerful take on the Lamborghini Huracan GT3 car. That lines up alongside Darren Leung in the Schubert Motorsport BMW. I think that Lucas is with Bernard.
Well, I thought I was with Bernard, but I think, telling from the helmet, it's not Bernard, is it?
No, it's not Bernard. It's Michael. Hi.
So did you change the drivers last minute, or do you do both races?
No, he did the first race and I'm doing the second one now.
All right, and we were just having a chat with the Pro Sport crew. Your car obviously running without restrictors. So are you in for the win today?
Well, we hope so, but we are running without restrictors. It's a different class, but it's also an older car.
Right, so what do you think is the top speed advantage without any restrictors compared to the Aston Martin and the Merc in front of you?
That's hard to say because it's a different car, and we know that we are strong on a straight line, but there are many corners on this track, and hopefully we can get a good start and challenge them.
All the best, Michael. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Okay, so the cars now firing up to get underway. Understand, looking at the helmet there and listening to Lucas Najewski, that we are not having Bernard Loeffler in the 26 car. It will be Michael Fischer. So apologies for that. I was just going off what the timing screen and the grid sheet said. Darren Leung, as I was alluding to earlier on, starts on the second row in the Schubert Motorsport BMW number 20 GT3 car. In 5th place on the grid should be Gilles Stadsbader in the VSR Vincenzo Sospiri Racing Lamborghini Supercapeo. It's there on the grid, and I believe it is Stadsbader taking the start. To Yip Wang in the Liquid Moly Team Extra car. Starting from 6th place, RTR Projects, Eric Yanis alongside him on the grid, so they're 7th and 8th respectively. Andrzej Lewandowski is once again listed as driving the GT3 Poland Lamborghini in this race, so I will go off what the grid sheet says, that it is Andrzej taking the start, but I thought he was in the car last time. Dustin Blattner in the Porsche Racing Experience by Manthey car rounds out the top 10. He's the first of the Cup 2 cars on the grid. He was set to line up in 10th. Oh, sorry, no, in 9th place. My apologies. So he's in 9th place, and Johannes Kapfinger is in 10th. 11th place is Giovanni Anapoli in the number 60. Michael Kapfinger in 12th place, just behind him in another of the Hubert Racing Porsches. Phoenix Racing's Matteo Ferrer, the historic racing ace, will line up on row 7 alongside Giuseppe Guerrieri in the Raptor Engineering number 3 Porsche, the youngster preparing for a season in Porsche Carrera Cup Italy, we believe. Hanno Laskowski in the 185 Ferrari 488, the Van Urman Racing with Ferrari 185 car. Tarek Mansour in the PRE operated by Manthey Racing 319 car lines up alongside him. Row 9 of the grid, it's Alexander Nussbaumer, who took the AM Class win in Ferrari Challenge Copper Shell last year. He comes into 2023 as a champion. He is joined by Alexander Ober in the 78 Lamborghini Huracan GT3. Row 10 of the grid, Frank Schum in the 620 Conrad Motorsport Lamborghini Super Trofeo. FF Courses James Owen lines up alongside him. PTT Racing's Igor Chiala, the 741 car in row 11, alongside Pablo Schum in the 621 Team 52. That's a Porsche for Guillaume Gioza. Nathan Schweigart, the American racer, the 27 on row 12. Row 13, Tom Fleming starting from well down the order alongside Jan-Philipp Springhob in the AMG GT4. I believe that's the pole sitter in GT4 alongside Nico Verdonk. Now there's a name. Nico Verdonk will be taking the start on row 14 and challenging along with Pro Sport's Celia Martin at the sharp end of the GT4 order. We got through 14 rows of this 22 row grid, but it is such a long grid it's almost impossible to rattle them all off. 43 cars set to take the start then. The Peugeot 208, the only car that's not allowed seemingly in GT Winter Series. It peels off to the right and we will go racing. We know it's not running restrictors, and doesn't it show? Into the lead goes the number 26 Lamborghini of Michael Fischer. Michael Fischer into the lead then as they all make their way through the first corner. It's a big gap back to another of the Lamborghinis. Those Super Trofeo cars again showing their straight line speed. The VSR, Vincenzo Sospiri Lamborghini car 16 of Stadsbader is up into second place there. Stadsbader really launching off the line from the third row of the grid. So he's in second ahead of Darren Leung in the Schubert Motorsport BMW. The pole sitter down to fourth place. And we've got a car peeling off. That is one of the 992 shape Porsche Cup cars. It looks like it may have been Huber Racing's Cupfinger. So that was the potentially one of the entries from Cup 2. It certainly didn't look like a Porsche Cup car, but nonetheless, we watched the rest of the field going through, and well, I was rather expecting the Pro Sport Aston Martin to cover the lead off into the first corner. And that hasn't happened. The straight line speed of the 78 car, or the 78 Racing Team car, just too strong. However, the lead that it had over the second place Lamborghini will be eradicated in short order. The safety car has come out. And that is why there was a car off in the gravel at turn 1. And that's a really unfortunate sight for the Engstler Motorsport team, Liquimoli team Engstler's Macanese racer Toyip Wang has unfortunately found himself embedded into the gravel on the exit of T1. So the safety car out early in this 25-minute race. I'm sure that Michael Fischer will be less than impressed with that, because he had a commanding start to this race. Really took off. And of course now he might come under pressure from Stadsbader when we do go back to racing, and given how long we've got, we should get a nice chunk of racing in even with this situation. And Stadsbader with the Super Trofeo car that seems to be an absolute rocket ship in a straight line. They're in second place. May well challenge for the lead when we go back to green flag conditions. That Porsche that we saw slowing down appears to have been Michael Kapfinger, the 35 Porsche. So Michael Kapfinger it was who we saw slow on the first lap. In fact, no, Michael Kapfinger's car is still parked between turn 4 and 5, and I think the other Huber Racing Porsche is also in trouble, limping around the circuit. Yes! Oh no, okay, so both of the Huber Racing Porsches, this is Johannes Kapfinger that we just saw in the 33 blue and yellow car. Both of the Huber Racing Porsches have come to grief on this first lap. Johannes is crawling his way towards turn 14 now. And Mikael Kapfinger is still stranded between turn 4 and 5, so nothing to write home about for Huber Racing. Let's run you through the order then, as we take this opportunity to take stock of the order after this safety car. It is Michael Fischer rather than Bernhard Löffler. It does say Bernhard Löffler on the timing screen, but we have seen that it is Michael Fischer at the wheel of the 78 Racing Team Lamborghini. Behind him is the number 16 Vincenzo Sospiri Lamborghini Trofeo car, Gilles Stadsbader at the wheel. Darren Leon is next for Schubert Motorsport. He leads the GT3 class. Yes, Bernhard Löffler is in a GT3 car, but it is entered into the Cup X category. That is because it is running without its restrictors. It's also a Generation 1 Huracan rather than the Evo bodywork. And well, now we know what's happened to Johannes Kapfinger, because that car's tyre was cut. Where were they relative to Toyip Wang? The answer is that they were just a couple of rows back, both of the Huber Racing Porsches. So I wonder whether the Kapfinger Huber Porsches ended up in a bit of a collision there ultimately with the Liqui-Moly Audi. I didn't see it live at the time. That may have been the case. To keep running through the order, behind the third place Darren Leung, we have Kenneth Heyer in the Schnitzelhelm Racing Mercedes. That car running 4th overall, the 101. Jean Glorieux in the Pro Sport Racing 170. That's our pole sitter, lest we forget, and it is stuck down in 5th position. In 6th place is, I believe, Andrzej Lewandowski. In 7th place, I should say, behind him is the 60 car. That, of course, is the other Vincenzo Sospiri car of Giovanni Anapoli, also a Super Trofeo Lamborghini. Phoenix Racing's historic racing ace, Matteo Ferrer, is in 8th place and leading the Cup 2 class exclusively for Porsche 991 and 992 cars. A big shout out to the 319 driver as well, Tariq Mansour, who I spoke to yesterday in the paddock. Really nice person to speak to, a big enthusiast of all things racing, and taking the opportunity to run with Manthey Racing through the Porsche Racing Experience program. He is all the way up in 9th place. The 185 car of Hanno Laskowski rounds out our top 10. That car is our leader in the Cup 1 class. The 185 Van Ummen Racing with Ferrari car rounds out our top 10 at the moment. An unfortunate start to the race seemingly for Dustin Blattner, who came into this weekend as our championship points leader. But Blattner runs 4th in Cup 2, so facing the prospect of losing another few points here if he's not careful. Of course, points are scored within each class, so your overall classification doesn't matter quite as much as what's going on in your class. The safety car is confirmed to be in this lap, so there's 16 minutes to go. Take a last breath or two, because we're about to go racing again. list of names we have on the timing screen, not just in terms of the drivers but the teams as well. Schubert Motorsport, Phoenix Racing, Conrad Motorsport, Liquimoli, Team Exler, among plenty of others. The GT Winter Series race resumes with 16 minutes left to go, and it is Mikael Fischer that leads the way towards the first corner. Gilles Stansbader nowhere near close enough to challenge, but a big dive up the inside there from Lewandowski. He's side by side with John Glorio there as they approach the first corner. And did the Trofeo car get past? Yes, John Glorio has moved up the order there. Looks like there might be some debris on the circuit. Now, I don't know if that's debris from the previous incident or whether we've had another moment out there on circuit. I'm not seeing anyone in the gravel, so presumably that was a remnant from previous happenings, or maybe just a slight rub rather than a full-on accident for someone further back. Darren Leung there, still in third place behind Stansbader. We spoke about this earlier on when Petrov was having an absolutely wonderful race in one of the Vincenzo Sospiri Lamborghinis. These Huracan Super Trofeos are very frustrating cars to find yourself behind, because look, you can tell they're much slower around a corner, but then you get them on a straight line and they just launch away from the turn, more so than the GT3 cars, which are more suited to turns. They've got higher downforce and more driving assistance as well in certain cases. Some of the Porsches running without ABS, for example, whereas all GT3 cars will have ABS. And through has gone Kenneth Heyer into second place. So Kenneth Heyer is through to P2, and he immediately goes defensive against Stansbader, who is not going to find a way back through. That means it's Darren Leung's turn now to try and get past the Super Trofeo car. Meanwhile, further back, you just saw a glimpse of the orange and black number 11 Porsche. That is Tim Neusser at the wheel of the Cup 3 leading car, 27th overall, and his teammate is last year's champion, but more on that when he's in the car. So you see the fighting going on further back in the pack. Our current leader in GT4 is Jan-Philipp Springhob, the CV Performance Group Mercedes car number 85. The blue and white Mercedes, a fetching livery that they also ran in last year's ADAC GT Masters. That car runs in 20th overall right now and is our GT4 class leader, just ahead of Nico Verdonk in the Pro Sport Aston Martin car number 310. So then, what can Kenneth Heyer do now that he is free of the pressure from Gilles Stansbader? Here's Tom Fleming making his way through the order. He's alongside one of the Conrad Motorsports Lamborghini Super Trofeo cars there. He's gotten through, I can tell you, off camera. But Frank Schum has lost out on a position there to Tom Fleming again. They're in different classes. Tom Fleming already almost back into the top 10. He is up to 11th place overall. Where did Fleming start? He started on the 13th row in 25th position. So Fleming has already made up a litany of positions. We just got a glimpse there of the 34 Van Orman Mercedes AMG GT3, which is also running within Cup X rather than within the GT3 class. That car looking very imposing in its bare carbon fibre. Mutlu Tassev taking the wheel of the car for this race. Under pressure in the battle for third then is Stansbader. Darren Leung in the Schubert BMW, studying the lines and trying to find a way through up against the might of that Super Trofeo, especially in a straight line. Again, the Super Trofeo car, as I'm sure you well know, is the slower car on paper, but once you're behind it and you're fighting for position with it, getting past can be quite difficult because of its straight line speed. Lewandowski in 5th place, almost got overtaken a couple of corners ago by Jean Glorio in the Pro Sport Aston Martin. But as yet, our pole sitter unable to break back into the top 5. Running wide there is the number 3 car. That is Gary in the Raptor Engineering Porsche. He's side by side with Dustin Blattner. It's the American driver Blattner on the inside into turn 1. Has he got the move done? Not quite. The brave young Italian racer holds on around the outside. Giuseppe Guerrieri there. Trying his best to hold on to what is 3rd place in the Cup 2 class and 13th overall. However, he hasn't done it. Off camera, I can tell you that Dustin Blattner has managed to capitalise on the inside into turn 2 and made up a position. So a good job there from Dustin Blattner, the American racer, who has really been something of a sensation here in the GT Winter Series paddock. Much like Tom Fleming in the FF Corsa Ferrari, he's always getting amongst it, amongst the GT3 cars and pressuring. Blattner hasn't had good starts so far this weekend, which has rather hampered his progress and pace. However, he is always impressive at the wheel of that Manthey-prepared Porsche Racing Experience car. So then, we continue to follow Adrian Lewandowski. I have now received confirmation that it is Adrian Lewandowski at the wheel rather than Andrzej, his father. So Adrian Lewandowski in the GT3 Poland number 50 car, giving us a great demonstration there of the straight line speed of the Huracan Super Trofeo, just pulled away massively from the Pro Sport Aston Martin coming down the main straight here at the Circuit Ricardo Tormo. And Glorio getting frustrated down there in 6th place. Remember, he was our pole sitter. Unfortunately, he's stuck there in 6th place. We have 9 minutes and 8 seconds of this motor race left to run at the moment, and it is Michael Fischer in the Cup X class number 26 car. Fischer it is that leads the way by 2.3 seconds, and Kenneth Heyer is closing in, it must be said. Heyer is getting there in the Schnitzelau Mercedes. The gap is down to 2.3 seconds. It's gone down by about half a second in the last lap or so. And we're also seeing a good scrap out on track here between James Owen in the other FF Corsa Ferrari. That's the number 10 car. He's under pressure from Jan-Philipp Springhob, the ADAC GT4 Germany competitor from last year, taking to the CV Performance Group Mercedes. That Mercedes that we did see on screen was 22nd overall and leading in the GT4 class. Nico Verdonk a couple of positions further back right now, and just getting through there is the American Nathan Schweigart. Of course, many in German would say Schweigart, but the American parlance is to use the W with a W rather than a V. So I'm doing my best to adhere to Nathan's wishes there, that the American racer, part of quite an extensive Manthey Porsche Racing Experience outfit. Another American racer soaking in the Iberian winter sunshine, or the Iberian endless summer, if you will, here with Giedlick Racing and the GT Winter Series. The Porsche 992 Cup car there of Schweigart is pulling away from our GT4 leader then, and Springhob will have to be careful because Nico Verdonk is not too far away from his rear bumper. The gap between our top two is coming down. It's 1.6 seconds between Loeffler and Heyer at this stage of the race. So Kenneth Heyer in the 101 car, the Schnitzelau Racing 101, just 1.5 seconds now back from Michael Fischer in the battle for the lead. The battles for 3rd and 4th and 5th and 6th are also incredibly close in the overall standings. It's a story of Cup X class versus GT3 class. Our leading car is entered into Cup X. It's a Huracan GT3 Sands Restrictors. The Schnitzelau car is of course a GT3 entry. Stadsbader in the Super Trofeo, that is a Cup X class car Darren Leung in the GT3 BMW M4 from Schubert Motorsport. GT3 Poland's Adrian Lewandowski, he runs in 5th place. And Jean Glorio in 6th place for Pro Sport Racing, also a GT3 car. Our class leader at the moment in Cup 2 is Matteo Ferrer in the Phoenix Racing Porsche. Side by side there, going on down at turn 1, Conrad Motorsports 621 car of Schum having a scrap there further back with the 34 of Tassev, I believe. Nonetheless, we continue to look some wonderful drone shots here of turn 2. Some track limits warnings have been given out in recent times for a number of the cars. There's no point reading you all of them, of course, because, well, there are a lot of cars out there. Darren Leung up the inside and through at turn 12, so he's got it done. Darren Leung moves up into 3rd place. He is surely going to be elated. He has been trying his best to get around Gilles Stadsbader for lap after lap after lap, and finally on the approach of turn 12 he has got it done. It's a good battle for 5th place as well as we mentioned. Lewandowski versus Glorio at this stage. I think that Lewandowski has control of that situation right now, but there is lap traffic up ahead, and you've always got to be wary of the lapped traffic. Looking again back to the GT4 lead, and there is the 85 car CV Performance with the white bonnet. That is the Mercedes AMG GT4 of Jan-Philipp Springhoff. And we can see another smattering of Trofeo cars, and also the other 78 Racing Team GT3 Hurricane as well. Briefly, but we have 2 Super Trofeo cars from Conrad Motorsport here this weekend, and it is a family affair for Conrad Motorsport as they're entered 2 family members, the 620 driven by Frank Schum and the 621 I don't think well, Pablo Schum as well, just a couple of rows between those 2 when they started. I did mean to ask Franz Conrad the relation between the 2, but it did slip my mind. I'll try and find that out at some point. However, that name, Franz Conrad, he's here in the paddock. Olaf Mantai was here in the paddock yesterday, the absolute legend of a driver and a team boss. And we also, of course, have Franz Exler, a real who's who of German motorsport in this paddock in Spain. This is very, very, very South Bavaria when the GT Winter Series comes to town. It is Michael Fischer in the lead, but for how much longer? Because there's half a second between them. I'm scanning to try and see them on track. I don't think we have them on camera at the moment. I'm looking for our 2 race leaders. They're nose to nose approaching turn 8 at the moment. Just coming up the back straight onto turn 8, and it's still the 78 Racing Team Lamborghini that leads the way. We continue to watch some of the battling in the midfield there, with Pablo Schum leading a huge pack of cars, which is very exciting in its own right. But if we look towards turn 11, turn 12, there is a great battle going on for the race lead. Michael Fischer is holding on to the race lead by the skin of his teeth. We catch them now. Kenneth Heyer in the 101 Schnitzelhelm Racing Mercedes with 2 minutes left on the clock is challenging for the lead up against the might of the Lamborghini, which has been freed from the shackles, freed from the chains of BOP restriction. It's a Lamborghini Huracan GT3 in its purest, rawest form. That means it's a lot quicker in a straight line than the Mercedes AMG GT3, but can Kenneth Heyer defy the odds and claim an overall win? Heyer's already leading the GT3 class here in this GT Winter Series race, but he's going to want to top the overall podium in this one. You can be sure of that. Schnitzelhelm Racing will be watching on the edge of their seats as well. We've seen the gap shrink and shrink and shrink between the top two all throughout this motor race. It was 3 to 4 seconds between them at one stage. Just to say, we've just had a spin as well for Pablo Schum. He has dropped himself down out of the top 20 with a spin coming out of turn 11. Now hopefully he can get that car going again. It's currently covered by local yellows. Hopefully he can get it started, and that won't require a pause to this race, because the lead battle is proving to be great value for money entertainment. They run towards turn 10 and turn 11 now. You see that it's covered by yellow flags because the Conrad Motorsport Lamborghini is there on the outside of the exit of the corner, the inside of the exit of turn 11, I should say. We have 33 seconds of this race left to go, so the penultimate lap is the lap we're on now. So just one more lap of racing expected here. Pablo Schum has finally got the 621 Conrad Lamborghini started again and will fall well down the order in Cup X and the overall standings. To just quickly fill you in on the other classes, it is still Matteo Ferrer that leads the race in Cup 2. Tom Fleming leads Cup 1. GT4 Jan-Philipp Springhoff leads that class, and Cup 3 is led by Tim Neuser. But let's look towards turn 2 of the circuit, because that is where our overall leaders are right now, and they are still neck and neck almost. Not quite, actually. They have just dropped a couple of car lengths between each other because of lap traffic, but I still want to see this battle on the final lap of the race. They run up towards turn 6 now at the moment, towards the back straight. We'll see them come into view on this camera in a couple of moments, but we've just switched to the main straight once again. I can tell you that it looks as though our race leader, Michael Fischer, has this one under control. He's got a few car lengths over Kenneth Heyer right now. Here they go towards the S-bends of turn 9, turn 10. And I think that Heyer, short of a mistake from the Lamborghini driver, is going to come just short in this one. There are 3 corners left to go in this motor race, and Michael Fischer has slowly seen the green and black Mercedes get closer and closer and closer. The GT4 battle we just saw there on screen for a moment as well, that one will be worth a watch on the final lap. But let's see our leader across the line. He's coming around the final corner now, and Michael Fischer is going to take the win. He does take the win in the second GT Winter Series race of the day. We'll see him come into shot there, victorious in the 26 Lamborghini. The GT3 class win will go to Kenneth Heyer, but he finishes second in the overall classification. Darren Leon will cross the line third, ahead of Stadsbader in 4th place, and just holding on to 5th place in the overall standings is Adrian Lewandowski in the GT3 Poland car. He just held on up against the might of Jean Glorio for 5th overall, ahead of Glorio in 6th place on Olsen, to ultimately finishing in 6th. Now where are our GT4 leaders? They're just coming up out of turn 8 towards 9 and 10 now. If we could possibly get the cameras towards the middle section of the circuit, 9, 10 and 11. The GT4 battle is still at close proximity. They do have some company on circuit with them. Just heading up to turn 12 now, the white and blue Mercedes, the number 85 car. And it is the CB Performance Group Mercedes, the CB Performance Group Mercedes, that looks like it's just about going to hold on in the GT4 class win. The other cars funneling across the line now. Matteo Ferrer did take the win in Cup 2. In the Cup 1 class, it was Tom Fleming who won the class from 8th overall. And just crossing the line to win GT4 now is Jan-Philipp Springhoff. So he claims a GT4 victory and 20th overall, ahead of Nico Verdonk. In Cup 3, we haven't mentioned Tim Neuser claims the win for Schnitzel Alm Racing. And if Tim Neuser isn't delighted about that, Mikael Sander will be. Last year's overall champion, Mikael Sander, claiming a win there in Cup 3 class, courtesy of Tim Neuser. And so, with just about everybody across the line, we can reflect upon what was a magnificent race in GT Winter Series. Michael Fischer did a stunning job of holding on. Yes, of course, he's got more power under the foot courtesy of that restrictor not being on the Lamborghini Huracan GT3 car. However, that car is also running the original body kit for the Lamborghini Huracan, the 2015 through 2018 body kit. So not the Evo, not the Evo 2 that is being launched for this season. It is the original recipe Lamborghini Huracan as it would have been entered in 2015 by Grasser Racing Team when that car was making its international debut. That is impressive for Michael Fischer. He held off Kenneth Heyer, who was charging and charging in the 101 Schnitzel Alm racing car. Darren Leung taking third place in the number 20 Schubert BMW. Of course, that's a good result for Darren. We saw him flashing the headlights with aplomb as he crossed the line. He was delighted with that overall podium. That also means second in the GT3 class, of course. Studs Bader taking fourth position and second in Cup X.
And welcome to the podium ceremony for sprint race number 2 of the GT Winter Series in Valencia. So let's get our top 3 onto the podium, and in third place for Schubert Motorsport, it's Darren Leung. In second place for Schnitzel Alm Racing, it's Kenneth Heyer. And here's your winner in the unrestricted GT3 car for the 78 Racing Team, Michael Fischer. So Marcus, Robin and Stefan from the series organization presenting the trophies to our top 3 drivers on the podium, with Darren in P3 with the BMW, with Kenneth in the Merc in second place, and of course with our winning Lambo from Michael Fischer in the first place here on the top step. Guys, please get together on the highest podium there for our photos. Well done. Thank you very much. And then we need a big round of applause from the pit lane for the top 3. Darren Leung, Kenneth Heyer, and our winner, Michael Fischer. Congratulations. So that's podium number 1 in the bag, and of course there is a second one coming up for our race points podium. So these are the drivers who scored the most points across all classes in this second race. And as we saw him in race 1, there he comes again onto the podium in third place for FF Corse, Tom Fleming. Well done, Tom. Third place and another podium for him. In second place, it's our overall race winner for the 78 Racing Team, Michael Fischer. And here's your race points winner from Phoenix Racing, Matteo Ferrer. Matteo Ferrer, first place on the podium, scored the most points in race number 2. And here we go for the presentation of the trophies with Robin and with Stefan, and of course with Markus Gedlich from Gedlich Racing, handing the trophies to our top drivers as far as points are concerned. And of course we are going to do the math latest in the end of the day here at Valencia to give you an update before the next race at Navarra in 2 weeks' time. First of all, we need the top 3 guys on the top step on the podium. Another big round of applause down there in the pit lane for Tom Fleming in third, Michael Fischer in second, and top scorer Matteo Ferrer. So, let's grab a word with our top man here on the podium. Michael, we spoke earlier on the grid, it's getting a bit loud here with the support classes coming up next. We spoke down there in the grid about the advantages that you have in your unrestricted car. I would say you definitely made use of them?
I would say it worked. We got first place in the first corner. The start was...
Just keep talking, that's why we got the microphone.
Okay. So, when the start worked well, the early safety car was not in our what we wished for, because I built up a gap in the first lap already, and the gap was gone then. But the restart was also nice, and I could hold up the first position until the end.
There is the endurance race, of course, still to come. Your goals for this one?
Yes, hopefully the same result.
All right. Best of luck. Thank you very much, Michael. Now let's continue with Matteo in a very, very interesting overall there. I think that will please Adam definitely. And I can actually spot, what is it? 20 years of V8 Star, which was 2 years ago, wasn't it?
Three this year. Yeah. So that's... Yeah.
So where did you get that from?
From the owner of the car. So I race his V8 Star occasionally in Europe. So for 2020 we decided to do the 20th anniversary of the series, and so we went and did a few rounds at Red Bull Ring and I think Salzburg Ring. So it was just a nice little celebration of the series.
I can imagine, gotta love V8 Star. Obviously you are very experienced in historic racing, now you're racing modern cars as well. Can you already unveil your plans for the 2023 season?
I can't, unfortunately. I can say that I'll be in Barcelona for the other GT Winter Series round, and then beyond that have to see what's possible, and hopefully this will help. So yeah, more to come hopefully.
It certainly will. Thank you very much, Matteo. So these are your podium finishes in GT Winter Series race number 2. Of course, there is the big endurance competition coming up later today, as well as the second race for the new Formula Winter Series. We've got a couple of minutes of time, so let's go to commercials, and then afterwards we have a couple of interviews for you.
Is yours now. Custom, handcrafted mountain bikes. It all starts with an idea, driven by the adventures that formed us, shaped by the mountains around us. We build the best bikes for us and our friends. Propane bicycles. Customize yours now.
Propane bikes and the Sander Porsche modification company. We have a wonderful example of the Sander Porsche here in the paddock that we were admiring in the build to this weekend. But also in the build to this weekend, we spoke to a number of our drivers from the GT Winter Series paddock. Now, I mentioned during our second GT Win Series race, won Michael Sander of Schnitzelbaum Racing in the number 11 Porsche Cayman. He, along with Marcel Maršovics, took the championship in GT Win Series last year, and my colleague Lukas Gajewski spoke to him yesterday to learn more about why he's back.
Michael Sander is last season's champion in the GT Winter Series. It's great to have you back, Michael.
Thank you.
However, this year it's not a championship fight for you, is it?
No, it's correct. It's just a guest start this year. So we're used to time for the summer season and for Valencia to check the car, to prepare for the next season. I intend to attend the Nürburgring, how is it called? Endurance Trophy, or however you call it, don't know. And therefore we prepared for that season. But it's a fantastic opportunity to do so.
And that's what you did last year as well, isn't it? You won the GT Winter Series at Barcelona last year in March, and then went back to the Nürburgring Nordschleife.
Absolutely, because I'm rookie, as you know. So the learning curve is quite steep, and every kilometer on the track brings some advantages and helps me understand the car much better. And now from the BMW switching to the Cayman is also a leap forward for me. And so yeah, we used the chance and the opportunity to check the car and to test it meticulously.
And what are the main differences between the BMW you used last year and this Cayman?
Oh, I think it's more precise. You get much more feedback, specifically when steering the car on the brake, so you feel much better what you do. My understanding is that the last 10% in the BMW are more, let's say, something happens, but you don't know exactly what, because a lot of the components are from the serial production. And with the Porsche, you learn how to drive the car even more precise. And together with Marcel, my coach, it's a huge fun to understand the car and to go through the data analysis and then improve the driving.
It's an interesting aspect, you know, all these professional drivers, it's a market for them to come here in wintertime to coach gentleman drivers, amateur drivers. How is it from your point of view? How do you work together with the professional drivers?
Well, first, admiring.
That's a good start, isn't it?
It's a fantastic work, and so over the last 2 seasons, and we worked very intensively, we developed a common understanding. So if Marcel tells me, okay, go a little bit on the brake in the corner, or you should, let's say, use the entire track width, and so I understand what he says, and now I'm coming more and more close to the point where I can translate this theoretical information in practical driving. So in my first season, as you know, I made my license just 2 years ago. It was a little bit, okay, the car is driving, and somehow I'm sitting behind the steering wheel, but it was more the car that drove me than the other way around. And now it's that I understand what he means, and sometimes 2 or 3 keywords and buzzwords are enough, and then we have the data analysis and see whether there's improvement or not. So let's say even the coaching becomes more efficient by having this long-term continuation of our collaboration. It's great fun.
And there is a lot of track time as well in the GT Winter Series package. Does it help you for your development?
Yeah, absolutely. I think every kilometer counts, and I think that's a perfect format. And also trying to practice a race start tomorrow, to attend a race, which is obviously very different to a track day, is a quite important learning that I have to do, and therefore it's a perfect format. So I'm a little bit sad that I couldn't attend all 6 races, but it's not the cheapest hobby in the world, so I need to work a little bit to finance the rest of the season, and had a lot of work to do in my company, not just driving cars but building cars, and yeah, so therefore it wasn't time enough to attend all 6 races, but at least in Portimao the track day and now in Valencia the race, it's fantastic.
Great. But you made an interesting point, because you have hours and hours and hours of test sessions in GT Winter Series, and then it's a 25-minute sprint race with all these classes and traffic and everything. But you like it. You say it's good to have that intense racing in the end of a weekend as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Because the starting procedure, for example, where let's say a lot of races have been decided in the first 5 seconds of the start, this is something that you can practice fantastically.